How much sugar to add when making wine? The perk of making your own wine at home is that you get to make it how you want to. If you're an avid at-home winemaker, you're aware that the alcohol in your wine comes from the sugar you add to it. Adding sugar to your crushed grapes creates the fermentation process in the juice. This process of adding sugar to your wines is called chaptalization. How to chaptalize your wine? This process consists of adding sugar to your must before the fermentation process begins. It will be easier to add it before fermentation so that you can achieve an accurate gravity reading. Other winemakers will add sugar during fermentation, but when opting for this, you will need to make your own calculations to determine what the final alcohol content will be. Your sugar additives can take many forms: brown sugar, plain white table sugar, molasses, honey, raisins, and so on. In commercial wineries, they add sugar in the form of concentrated grape juice or granular sugar. When you have your choice of sweetener in hand, mix it in completely and make a chemistry reading. After this, it's time to inoculate the yeast in order to begin fermentation. So, how much sugar should you add when making wine? Generally, 1.5 ounces of sugar will make 1 gallon of wine by 1 Brix. Some fruits with a higher sugar content can get by with 2 to 3 pounds of added sugar per finished gallon. Brix, or BX, is how the potential alcohol content of wine is measured before it's made. Knowing this, you'll know how much more sugar you should add to your wines when making it at home. Remember, each gram of fermented sugar will turn into a half gram of alcohol. Knowing Brix is interesting because different winemaking techniques will make an effect on the alcohol content you end up with. The drawback of adding too much sugar to your wine. When you end up overburdening the must, this will result in overwhelming the yeast and resulting in a challenging fermentation process to start. If you've just started experimenting with sugar in winemaking, I would advise you to start with smaller amounts, 1 gallon recipes, so that you don't overdo it. This way, you ensure that the sugar amounts you're adding are small enough and won't interfere with the yeast in a negative way. When making larger batches of wine from 5 to 6 gallons, you'll need to proportionately add larger amounts of sugar, logically. This is when you need to be prudent. A good rule of thumb for these cases is not adding more than 3 pounds of sugar per 1 gallon, depending, of course, on your calculations. Winemaking is a learning process, and a lovely one at that. Getting your recipe, desired alcohol content, and combinations right is all part of the journey. One thing's for sure, every at-home winemaker achieves success at some point, so keep trying. Happy chaptalization!